Hello everyone, and in this video I want to show you a way to animate like stuff like this, like flag or a fish, where this part would be like stationary but the top behind part would be moving, or a grass where this would be stationary but the top would be moving in wind, or in the flag where this would be stationary and this part would be moving. And we will do this all by material and not be using any what you call like any animation technique, or using any keyframes or anything. We are just going to do it based on our material. This is something that I got from this free Blender Market plugin. You could search for flags and you could search for fish, and make not flag fish, like just fish, and then make sure free fish is selected and it will show. These are free ones, so that's what I'm going to use. Also, I want to show you like multiple methods. One of it is using like the vertex painting or weight colors, where we basically say that this should be not moving that much, this should be moving a lot, and we can actually define which area should be like very heavily stuck. So first, for the first method, I'm just going to export it directly, and in the second method we'll come back to this mesh and we'll do some painting, or we can do that painting in Unreal Engine 2, where you could see that there's a vertex paint option in Blender too, right? But in Unreal we can also do that directly in that in the software. Also, let me show you guys the UV. So for this one, the UVs are like this. It goes from left to right. For this one, it is like this, left to right. And for this one, you could see it is like this. Each one of them, so each, if I do Control L, each one takes like one full space. You could see, so that all of the texture, if I add a texture like this which goes up to down, it will apply to each one of them. So these are the UVs, how they are made. I'm going to export this, I guess, to the desktop and do export. So I'm just importing it in my Unreal Engine. Just drag and drop it. Make sure that combined meshes, where is it? Yeah, combined meshes is untick, because we are using three different meshes and we don't want to combine it. We want like three different meshes. Again, if you did some painting via in this one, if you went in here and did some painted it, where is it, like this, if you go in here and then did some painting to the vertexes in here, and then you want it to export it in Unreal, then make sure to go in here and select replace, and it will basically replace the vertex colors with whatever it was done in the meshes. But for me, we haven't done it, so I'm just going to do import all. So we got all three of these meshes. Let's just drag and drop it. Let's create a material, m underscore like wavy material or something, wavy matte, and in the master material, which is this one, we will do the changes. So first of all, we have like three different textures, right? So I can go in here and then add a texture sample like this. Or you know what, let's just first work with the color instead of. So I used a constant 3 vector. You could press 3 and do left click and it will add a constant 3 vector, and we can choose a color for time being. So let's do blue, 0.9, 0 specular. So this is how it looks for now. Okay, what I want is a texture which has black in here and white in here, because this one needs to be not moving and this one needs to be moving. For example, if we choose this world position offset, that's what we are going to use, and what it does is that it moves the vertex of your mesh in a certain direction. So if I, let's say, add let me add a constant 3, because it takes 3 vectors, right? So if I add, let's say 10 in the x and do apply, look at it. So you could see that it moved x, so in the red direction. Am I in global? Okay, I am in global. Okay, so global axis, because it uses world position, not local position, which means that if I, let's say, create 3, let's do like scalar parameters like this. You could hold S and do scalar parameter to add one, or you could search for scalar parameter, or you could press 1 and convert this to parameter, and it's same stuff. This requires 3 values, right? Which is why I added 3, so that we can control each differently. And then I could say like convert all these 3 values into a float 3, which is basically like this value comma, this value comma, this value comma, so it will give like x, y, z. So x, y, and z, might as well call it x, y, and z like this and add it in here. So I'm just showing you what we are basically doing. Okay, so if I go to this parameter and keep moving this like 500, it moved 500 there. If I move this y 500, it went, why did it went there? Oh, y, okay, so y, correct. And if I move this 500, it is going to go up, right? I don't know why it is flickering. I think it has to do something with world offset and how that works. So what we can say is that move this points more than this points. And you know that if I, let's say, add a linear gradient, let's say let's see if that works. I've already created a video on how to create linear gradients in like different ways. You could see that this linear gradient uses UV channel. Okay, so based on how your UVs are in in your meshes, how do I select only this much? Like how your UVs are, it is going to be based on that. Okay, which is why you could say it is black in here instead of being black in here or whatever. With this stuff, we can say that, hey, now when we use linear gradient or any type of mask, what we are basically getting is values from 0 to 1. Wherever there is black, it's 0. Whereas there is white, it is 1. So pure black is 0, pure white is 1. Anything in between is like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, like this. For example, if I use step node, which is like this, and then say anything that is below 0.5, just make it to be 0. You could see that anything that is below 0.5 is turned into 0. And again, if you look from here, you might be like, oh, there's no 0.5 in here, but there's actually 0.5 value. It's just not much visible because 0.5 is like in middle of black and white, right? So it is hard to see. So from with these points, we could say that again, this, you don't have to use linear gradient. You could use like a texture sample. You could use anything that gives you a black and white mask which spans through your texture like this. You could just, go in here, create a texture and add a texture which goes from, let's say, black around here to white, and that would also work. You just need a black and white texture. We could say that multiply this. Which one were we using? U channel, right? Because left to right. In the U channel, we can say multiply with a certain value, which is going to be a parameter like this. Let's just keep it like this, parameter. If I connect it here and then connect it to the world position offset, now the thing is, this would not work well. For example, let's do apply and see what even is happening currently. I'll just add this color for visual purposes. You could see nothing's actually going to happen. If I make this to be 50, like let's do 50. Because something is happening, but it's very weird. It's doing very weird stuff like this. And the reason is simple. What we are doing is the linear gradient is 2 vector, right? Because it's a texture, and texture doesn't really need 3, right? It only needs 2 vector or 2 float values, x and y or u and v. So, and we are taking only one of it, and then we are multiplying it with a parameter. So this one is actually giving us only one vector, so only one value around here. And this one takes 3 vectors, x, y, z. So when we add this in here, we are putting whatever value we are getting in here. Let's say we are getting 5. Then we are adding 5, 5, 5 in all of this. So what we can simply do is we can create a 3 float vector like this, and then say that, why did it get disconnected? We could say that this one added to the x and get it to the result, and y and z would be same. Let's go to the parameter and see what happens. And you could see that weird stuff is happening. You could see, but wherever there is black, it's actually being there. It is not moving at all. And wherever there is white, it is moving a lot. And wherever there is like lower values, it is doing even less. Why is that? Simply because this linear gradient, if I connect it around here, and apply like this, you could see, right, wherever there is black, it's not moving. Why? Because when you multiply anything with 0, which is black color is 0, right? So anything, it's doing nothing, it's just keeping it 0. When you multiply it with 1, which is around here, it is giving 2437 around your value, and anything in between is like lower than that. Because if we go in the middle of it where the value is 0.5, right, because in the middle of the gradient it's going to be 0.5, then multiply this by 0.5, and that is the value that we are getting, and we are moving it in that direction or that much value. So when you multiply something with a black and white texture, we can kind of get some variation based on like black being like no changes because anything multiplied by 0 is nothing, and 1 is going to give the exact value which is like around here, and anything in between would be lower than that slightly as the color changes and goes towards black. So let's make this, let's say 100, and then if I go to the top, you could see this is how it's looking. And if I make this to be -100, it is going to move in this direction. 100 moves in this direction and -100 moves in this direction. And if you're like, why is it looking opposite, right? Why is it going opposite direction? It's not, because in this texture, the white value has been controlled, and in this one, white value has been controlled. So you could see both of them are moving in the same direction. You could see even in this one. The problem with the grass one is that we actually need like V value rather than X, because it needs to go up and down, right? For example, I just removed everything like this and then applied V channel. It is being on top. So if I do, let's say 1 minus, if I add 1 minus, we can simply just, move it, go from bottom to up like this. And then this way, this point would be stationary, and as it goes above, it is going to move a lot. And remember, this needs to have enough vertex points for it to happen. So how about we just start doing, we will do it later for the grass, because for grass it needs to go up and bottom to up, and for this one it goes left to right. So let's first just work on left to right. So I'm just going to delete everything. We are putting this like this, where Y and Z just does not move, because we want to move it in this direction, in the X direction. Okay, so the Y and Z, which is Y and Z, doesn't really need to have any value changes, but we only want to do for the X one. So how can I make it go 100 minus 100, 100 minus 100? For that, we can use a node called sine. Okay, if you look at the sine wave graph, it goes from -1 to 1. So it will go from -1 to 1, -1, 1, -1, 1 as the time progresses. So this one would give us values -1 to 1. So if I add a time node into this one, time basically is a stopwatch. If I play this, this is how the time values, this is what gives like time basically. Okay. So this node will output a value which constantly just goes up like this. And we can add it in here, which basically makes the sine value go 1 to -1, 1 to -1. If I paste it in here and do apply, you could see there is slight variations like this, but it's not good enough. So we can go in here and add another multiply and say that the values which we are getting like -1 to 1, 1, -1, 1, -1, 1, multiply this with a certain value, which I can call it as a parameter, which would be like a, I guess, wave intensity like this, and let's apply. 0 is nothing, multiplied by 0 is nothing. So if I keep increasing this, let's do 10, let's do 50, and you could see how this is moving right now. Okay, now the thing is, it is completely based on the texture. So if I can somehow control this linear gradient, it is going to look very nice and work very nicely. Now if you know how to move these textures or do anything, this linear gradient, you would know that we can actually control it even more. I already have a dedicated video on how to create like different type of linear gradients with like different textures and all. So one of it is, if we go in here and then add a power node and connect it to the base color, let's promote this to a parameter, and let's say I do, let's say 5, let's do apply. You could see now this looks a lot this black value, which is 0, is a lot further, and then it goes like 0 0.1, 0 0.2, 0 0.3. So now if I, let's say, connect this value to this multiply, let me just organize it. Okay, so we are taking this linear gradient, we are adding some power, and then now turning this into like this. And you could see that wherever there is like black, it's not moving at all. This much is not moving at all. You could see this part, this much is not moving at all. This part is moving a lot, you could see, and this one is slightly less, which is creating this bendy kind of effect around here. And same with this tail, you could see that now it can just move its tail like this, but this part is not moving at all a lot. So which is very cool, right? That you could add anything in here. Okay, so it doesn't have to be just this node. You could add any texture in here or anything that would basically make it work, and rest of it is just giving texture. Same with if we connect this, let's say, to our make float, and instead of u we use v. Let me connect it like this. Let's first see how this looks. And you could say this is now moving. And you know, if we simply use this 1 minus node after this one, we can simply just reverse this, and which would create this type of stuff where I think the power value is too much. Let's do 1. Let's do 0. No, 0.5. And you could see we now get some bendy stuff like this, which works. There's a lot more stuff. If you are actually working with grass, then simply use this simple grass wind node instead. If you are trying to use grass, I've already created a video called stylized grass. Watch that if you are planning to make grass. And this is a node which is made specifically for grass, but you could actually use it for anything else too. It's not just, I think, for grass only, but again, that is literally what we are doing, I think, around here. Another thing is, if you select this mesh, which is untitled fish, like this, I think I have to select this and then go into modeling, mesh paint mode, like this. And this is something that you could do in Blender too, where you could go and paint it like vertex paint like this and choose where you want it. But I'm using Unreal Engine directly to do that. And here you could see we can paint in red channel, blue channel, green channel. We can use like different channels to have like different variety, I guess. So maybe you paint like a bit differently in the red channel, you paint differently in the green channel, you paint differently in the blue channel, so that different type of fish would have different values when using that effect. So simply just go into paint. You could see nothing's happening. It also requires like vertexes. You could see all these green points are vertex that are present on this fish, which are literally this stuff like this. First of all, we need to select the paint color and make it black. And is there an option to completely make it black? Also, we have to select, let's say, red, only red color, okay, not green and blue. Also, color view mode is green. Here, fill. I choose the fill black color and made it fill, so nothing's now been working. And now if I make it to be, let's say, white, I can go in here and then paint white like this. So you could see that even though I'm painting white, it is actually looking red color. And why is that? Simply because we are in red channel, and then we are also painting in red channel. Make sure to choose red, okay? Else it will paint everywhere. The paint color should just be white and black. It doesn't really matter. It is actually doing on the both sides, which is pretty cool. Then I can go in here and then be like, okay, I want this one to be slightly moving like this. Then I want this one to be not moving much, but still a bit moving a bit like this. And then go in here and then do like slightly moving like this. I don't know, it didn't really paint this time fully. So I'm just going to do a rough work, okay? It is not good to do different colors on like both sides. It is kind of going to mess it up, I know, because it's not completely looking like same colors. If I go to selection, if I go to my materials, I can search for vertex color, which would give us like this input data. And then instead of using this power node, exponential and all that stuff, I can say get this red color, which is just a texture by the way. If I connect this around here, let me remove the world position offset just to see the texture. You could see the same color that we painted are showing in the red channel. If I now connect this to the world position offset, so we are taking vertex color, multiplying it with a sine node, and then the wave intensity and doing a float and applying. You could see it is moving. The reason why it's moving a bit off because I didn't really paint it well. In one side it didn't really paint nicely, but I guess you could understand it, how this works. And you could say this one is like completely moving because by default it is fully painted white color. So again, put some effort into painting on here. Ideally I just like to do it in Blender. It's like much more easier to work with it. Or you could even select this mesh, go into modeling modes, and I think this one also has a painting stuff like paint vertex colors after going into attributes. And you could just, there are like fill black, so everything is now black. Channel filter, just the red color. Paint vertices, paint color is going to be red, so this is 1. If you do, let's say 0 1 0, then it would be green channel. If you do 0 0 1, it would be blue channel. So I just want to do it in red channel, so let's do okay 1 0 0, and I can just paint it like this. I'm going to do fill black, and then basically just going to paint the back side like this. It is painting like fully towards like back side. Ideally you should be in the front wave and then painting nicely, okay? So rather than doing all that, and make sure to press accept, and now you could see it is now moving based on that. Weird, but again, play around with it and it will look nicer. So all you need to do is get a black and white texture and multiply it with an intensity of what you want, and then using a time and sine node you could make it go back and forth like this. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.